Welcome to the Stellar Vault. Say hi in the comments to awaken the archive. Then like, subscribe, and let the tale begin.
The sky bled molten fire as Karnath's second moon died. Shards of white-hot stone rained down through the cloud barrier, piercing spires, melting skin, vaporizing soil. One blast had sheared the great temple in half, a symbol older than memory, now reduced to ash that clung to the scales of the dying. High Priest Commander Tarek Sar stood on the highest sanctum ledge of the Citadel Ascendant, motionless in the boiling wind. Ash swirled around him like gray snow. His ceremonial spear, etched with oath marks from every battle he'd survived, vibrated faintly in his grip. Below him, the final defense lines collapsed under the swarm. Silver-black shapes descended in silence. No engines, no emotion, just purpose. The Vecta had arrived in orbit 5 cycles ago. Since then, Karnath's orbital defense grid had been peeled away piece by piece. The outer bastion fell within 2 hours. The inner ring stations were silent by the 3rd day. Now the orbital furnace reached down, stripping Karnath bare. Cities were devoured whole, defensive bastions erased. Tarek's jaw muscles flexed beneath his scale ridge. Not from fear, from fury. The council had stalled. The old code forbade external calls for aid. They had clung to tradition while the sky came apart. He opened the hollow panel embedded in his bracer. A small icon pulsed, a dormant artifact recovered 37 cycles ago. Human-made. His talon tapped the surface. It responded immediately, unfolding a signal packet. Primitive encryption, outdated protocols, yet intact. He'd preserved it against doctrine, hidden it beneath layers of false relics and scriptural ruins, not because he believed humans would come, but because he remembered. Tarek pressed his claw against the bracer and spoke in the old tongue, not Karnathi, but Terran Common, broken and rasped through a throat evolved for growls and barks. "We helped one of yours," he said. "He survived. He spoke of honor. He left this behind. I remember. If you do, come." The signal burst into the void. The Vanguard's mercy cut through the void on sublight drift, running dark along a contested corridor near the Arden Expanse. Captain Rourke Halverson stood on the bridge, watching unmarked stars crawl across the observation screen. His ship was on a scheduled patrol run. At least, that's what Command believed. In truth, he'd been moving off pattern for days, skimming the edge of unlogged sectors, following hunches no one else could justify. His crew hadn't asked why. There had been a signal, faint, intermittent, no pattern, just a flicker, an old beacon ping, broadcast on a deprecated Terran frequency, barely strong enough to register. He hadn't told anyone, because the frequency matched an encryption tag from a device long thought destroyed. His father's recon transponder, Elliot Halverson, killed in action, buried with honors, lost to classified black site skirmishes that no one talked about anymore, except something out there had been whispering. And now, it spoke. A proximity ping broke the silence. Data scrolled down the TAC display. Unregistered beacon detected. Source Terran. Encryption. Lieutenant Elliot Halverson. Strike Recon 819A. Time since transmission 0.8 hours. Cross-reference. Classified event. Operation. Gravel Mirror. Rourke's brow furrowed slightly. He tapped the panel. The file unfurled. A decrypted message. Video artifact degraded by age. A scaled figure speaking Terran through a thick translator band. There was no flourish. No theatrics. Just words. "We helped one of yours. He survived. He spoke of honor. He left this behind. I remember. If you do, come." The bridge was silent. Rourke didn't speak. didn't ask for clarification. He stared at the beacon tag. He remembered the story. How 37 years ago, when he was just a toddler, his father had been pulled from a wreck on a hostile world. How an alien had saved his life. And how, years later, he'd told Rourke, "If they ever call, I'll go. Doesn't matter how far. Doesn't matter why." His father was dead now. But the call had come. His XO watched from the side of the room. "Problem, sir?" "Divert course," Captain Rourke said. "Helm, prep for a long jump." "To where?" "Karnath," Rourke said. "Pull old logs if you have to. We're going back." Across the galaxy, diplomatic hubs flared with irrelevant debates. Security briefings listed Karnath as deprioritized. High Chancellor fleets held position, monitoring systems with richer alloys and faster yields. No response came from the Dralvani Union. The Auric Consortium marked the signal as low-priority cultural interference. Bureaucracy reigned. But far from the Karnathi system, on an aging Terran relay station no one remembered funding, a junior comms officer noticed something strange. A beacon tagged with a name buried in forgotten files. Halverson. He flagged it, ran it twice, marked it, observed. But before any protocol could escalate it, before any admiral could schedule a meeting, the only Terran ship that mattered had already changed course. Outbound, silent, alone. Rourke stood in the bridge's observation deck as Karnath's binary stars dimmed into view. The system looked sick. Gravity distortions at the edge of orbit. Light refracted oddly. Debris fields clouded the outer planets. The Vanguard's Mercy drifted beneath sensor thresholds, coasting on minimal emissions. He said nothing. He touched the recon badge once, then keyed in the transmission logs. "Broadcast on open band," he ordered. "Loop the message." "Aye, sir." A moment passed. Then Karnathi space heard the voice of a Terran again. Calm, hard, unshaken. "This is Captain Rourke Halverson of the Vanguard's Mercy. Drakenal Command, your call was received. My father owed you his life. I owe you his memory. I am en route." The hall of the unshaken flame was built from the bones of volcanoes. Every step inside echoed with history and judgment. The air was dry, heat-thick, tinged with the scent of burnt stone and ancient blood. Light streamed from open vents in the ceiling, natural shafts that let in Karnath's red sun to bathe the council chamber in holy fire. High Priest Commander Tarek Sar stood in the circle of judgment, armor stripped, spear gone, claws resting calmly at his sides. Above him, 7 seats of iron and scaled stone curved in an arc, each filled by a counselor bearing the black ceremonial crest of the High Assembly. "You have violated sacred law," growled Keshtar, counselor of doctrine. "You invoked the Red Memory Protocol. You reached beyond Karnath. You called to an outsider." "I did," Tarek replied, voice steady. "Do you offer defense?" Keshtar's tail twitched, subtle, controlled fury. "I offer memory," Tarek said, "and debt. We are Drakenal. We do not forget. Decades ago, we pulled a Terran from fire and ruin. He lived because we honored him, and he swore that if ever we called, his blood would answer." Tarek raised his head. Now his son is coming, not in conquest, in honor. I did not summon an outsider. I summoned a promise returned. Gasps rippled through the chamber, not at the words, but at what they implied. Then Keshtar rose from his seat, descending 2 steps. "High Priest Commander Tarek Sar, you no longer speak with the authority of your caste," he said coldly. "From this moment, your titles are revoked. Your command is rescinded. You are not banished, but you are nothing." Tarek blinked slowly. "Then I am free to act without chains." The Vanguard's Mercy dropped from FTL at the edge of the Karnath system, like a whisper through shattered glass. Hull plates hummed under stress as the vessel settled into sublight drift, navigating slowly through a field of fractured debris. "Multiple contacts," the tactical officer said. "None active. All cold. Station husks, orbital wreckage, and a lot of it." Rourke stared through the forward viewport. Karnath loomed beyond, wounded and wrapped in smoke. Chunks of orbital defense platforms hung in gravitational drift, some still glowing at the edges. The stars looked wrong, bent slightly by the burn of the Vecta's gravitational imprint. "Any response to our beacon loop?" he asked. "None. No signals, no hails. They're either dead or watching." He nodded once. "Hold station. Full sensor sweeps. No weapons lock." The second FTL bloom caught them by surprise. "New contact," Helm said quickly. "Terran signature. Civilian retrofit. Ident code. Epona." Rourke didn't react. Not visibly. He folded his arms as the comms came live. "Epona to Vanguard's mercy. Rourke, you glorious stone-hearted bastard. I knew you wouldn't say goodbye." The voice carried a casual grin. His XO blinked. "You know this guy?" "Yes," Rourke said flatly. "Put him through." The main screen flared to life. Doug Stewart appeared in the cockpit, unshaven, sun-scarred, and smiling like the war wasn't happening. "You jumped dark and didn't tell anyone. That's basically a declaration of war in captain speak," Doug said. "Had to follow you just to make sure you weren't flying straight into a sun out of spite." "I considered it," Rourke replied. Doug leaned back, feet up. "Still allergic to gratitude, I see. You're welcome, by the way." "I didn't ask you to come." "That's the best part. You didn't have to." Rourke said nothing. The comm stayed open. Doug lowered his feet and got serious. "You think they know you're on your way?" "They knew who they were calling," Rourke replied. "That's enough." Back on Karnath, the high assembly chamber emptied slowly. Tarek walked alone, stripped of insignia, but not of will. Below the great chasm, black lava ran in silent rivers, ancient, slow, and unrelenting. He paused beneath the spire of unseen debt, a memorial rarely visited. Its inscriptions bore the names of those who had made sacrifices beyond law or caste. Tarek added no words. He simply stood. A presence approached, light footsteps, not ceremonial. "You made many enemies," came the voice, young, calm, precise. Jekvar, counselor in training, too young to wear black, clever enough to be feared. "I made one decision," Tarek replied. Jekvar studied him. "There is a Terran ship in orbit, and another. The High Assembly has not acknowledged their signal." "They won't," Tarek said. "Not until it's convenient. Or too late. Then someone else must." Jekvar handed him a sealed crystal. "Access codes. To a port control node. Enough to bring the human vessel in without alerting planetary defense." Tarek took it. "Why?" "Because I believe the old stories," Jekvar said. "And because our laws may be sacred, but they are not God's." On board the Vanguard's Mercy, an encrypted channel crackled to life. "Terran vessel," came the voice. Not robotic, not automated, deliberate. "This is Tarek Sar of Karnath. Your signal was received. Guidance coordinates inbound. Come alone." Doug raised an eyebrow. "Well, that doesn't sound like a trap at all." Rourke was already locking in the coordinates. "You'll hold position." Doug snorted. "You think I followed you across half the sector to sit in parking orbit?" "You came because I didn't ask." "Exactly," Doug said. "So don't bother trying to stop me. I'll shadow your entry. Won't interfere, just in case things get lizard weird." Rourke said nothing, but his silence was a kind of permission. The Vanguard's Mercy angled its hull and began its descent toward Karnath, its lone escort, the Epona, holding position just above orbit, close enough to shadow, far enough to avoid notice. Karnath grew larger in the viewport. Fires traced the cracks of the continents like veins of light across a dying body. Rourke watched in silence, arms crossed, eyes flat. The descent was clean. No lock-ons, no defense grids, no escort. Only silence, and coordinates sent by a disgraced alien priest. "Approaching drop corridor," Helm said. "Atmosphere breach in 60 seconds. "Hold vector," Rourke said. "No deviation. No weapons online." Behind him, the crew moved like ghosts. Quiet, professional, on edge. Every man on the ship knew this was off mission, off record, and possibly suicidal, and none of them had asked to leave. They remembered the name Halverson. The docking cradle was built into the side of a cliff, half buried under rock and old ice. No beacon, no lights, just a recessed channel with enough clearance to fold the ship's wings. As the Vanguard's Mercy landed, the external comm crackled once more. "Leave your weapons! Come alone!" Rourke stepped onto the ramp without a word. The chamber was stone and metal, old architecture folded over with newer plating. Ritual symbols carved into the walls had been scrubbed in places. By time, by wear, or by order. The heat here was thicker. He could feel it pressing into his skin. Tarek Sar stood at the far end, robe scorched at the hem, the ceremonial markings on his skull dulled with ash. "You are the son of Elias Halverson," he said. "I am," Rourke replied. "I remember his face, his wounds, his stubbornness." "That tracks." Tarek nodded once. "Your ship is the first to answer. Others may come, or none at all." "I didn't come because of them." "No," Tarek said. "You came because memory binds harder than law." For the first time, something like a smile crossed his scaled features. Not soft, not warm, but real. Above Karnath, the Epona held orbit just beyond scan range. Doug Stewart sat with his boots on the console, flipping an old Terran coin between his fingers. "Anything?" his navigator asked. Doug grinned. "Not yet. But I know Rourke. If he needed backup, he wouldn't ask. He'd just bleed and expect you to notice." Below, somewhere in the fire-stained mountains, his friend was walking straight into the heart of a warrior culture that held law more sacred than survival. Doug pocketed the coin. "When the moment's right," he said. "I'll be there." "So, let's move to another place," Tarek said. They walked through the inner sanctum of the Drakenal stronghold, a passage that felt less like a corridor and more like a descent. Rourke followed Tarek Sar into a narrow vein of volcanic stone. Heat radiated from the walls like breath from a dying beast. Above them, ancient sigils pulsed with a faint red glow, markings older than the Karnathi Council, older than the laws Tarek had just broken. "You brought me here to talk?" Rourke asked, voice even. "I brought you here," Tarek said, "because this is the only place no one listens." The chamber at the end was circular, sunken, quiet. The stone beneath their boots was cracked and scorched in battle patterns, a ritual dueling floor, Rourke realized. But it hadn't been used in years. Dust clung to the carvings. The air tasted of forgotten things. Tarek stopped in the center and turned slowly. "Do you know what happened to your father after we pulled him from the wreck?" "I know the official report," Rourke said. "Recon pilot Halverson. Call sign outpost Ghost. Assigned to Operation Gravel Mirror. Extracted by alien contact during a classified skirmish. Died 10 years later, during a different mission. End of record." That's a cold way to remember a man. "That's military archives," Rourke said. "My version's warmer." Tarek inclined his head. He stayed on Karnath for 3 cycles, refused evacuation until he could walk again. Trained with our scouts, ate with our warriors. He tried to learn our language. And? terrible at it. Rourke smiled. Tarek stepped forward, voice lowering. He earned respect without a uniform. In our culture, that is not just rare. It is near impossible. You are here not because of who he was, but because of what that made us. Rourke nodded once. Then let's stop walking in circles. What's coming? Tarek activated a hidden panel in the floor. A section of the stone retracted with a hiss. From the depths rose a projection array, older than Terran designs, but elegant in its brutality. A three-dimensional map unfolded. The Karnath system, marked in red and gray. 10 days before their attack, Tarek said, a scout vessel of ours vanished in the Voss Rift. That was not unusual. The rift eats signals. The map zoomed. 2 more systems pulsed, but then 2 more vanished. One of them sent back 5 seconds of data before total loss. Rourke watched the scan loop. Geometric objects, smooth, cold, angular, moving without propulsion. Their movement wasn't chaotic. It was clinical. Drones, Rourke said. No, Tarek corrected. Not drones. Not like yours. These are, he paused, hunting machines. We call them the Vecta. Evolved from something organic, merged with self-replicating tech. They don't build territory. They don't hold ground. They come in waves. Rourke narrowed his eyes. Waves? The first wave fractures defenses. Bombardment, infiltration, mass trauma. Then they leave, but not before marking survivors. When they return, the swarm is larger, faster, more evolved. They don't just kill, Captain. They learn. They overwrite. Overwrite what? Tarek's voice dropped. Consciousness, identity. They steal minds. Then they strip the dead world for metals, tech, anything that feeds their growth. Rourke looked at the projection again. The silence in the room was now heavy. Why call us? He asked. Why not warn your allies? Tarek's tail shifted. We have no allies. Not anymore. Above Karnath, in orbit, Doug Stewart sat in the cockpit of the Epona, boot propped up again, eating something wrapped in foil. His comm officer turned. You really think they'll ask for backup? Doug chewed, swallowed. Nope. Then why are we sitting here in blackout? Doug grinned. Because if they ask, it'll be at the last second. And they'll pretend they didn't. The console pinged. A narrow beam encrypted burst, not from Rourke, from Karnath itself. Doug straightened. Well, well. Look who decided to whisper. Jack Varr stood in the comm alcove of a hidden council relay station, hands steady over the controls. He wore no ceremonial robes, just armor and a datapad holstered at his side. Technically, he was breaking half a dozen security laws, but doctrine was for survivors. He opened the narrow channel and spoke only once. Second Terran vessel, your presence is known. Watch the clouds. When the fire moves, strike fast or not at all. Then he shut the channel and deleted the record. Back in the ritual chamber, Rourke studied the map. They're not just moving through space, he said. They're testing response times, looking for weak systems, mapping AI resistance across borders. Tarek looked at him. You've seen this before. No, Rourke said. But I've read this pattern before. We ran simulations in black-budget war colleges, AI incursions, adaptive swarms. It always ends the same. How? We either destroy the swarm, or they will destroy us. Outside the ritual chamber, Karnath's sky began to shift. The clouds over the far range thickened, darkening, pulsing. Tarek's comm flared. He listened, eyes narrowing. Then he looked at Rourke. They've come, he said. Early. How early? Days. We thought we had time to prepare. They're here now. Alarms sounded across the temple citadel, but not human alarms. These were deep-frequency tones that echoed through the stone itself, vibrating bone and blood. Rourke felt it in his teeth before his ears. Tarek moved fast. We must get to the Flamehold, the Vecta target memory repositories. Then I'm going with you, Rourke said. Tarek paused. You will not understand our rituals. I don't need to. I just need to buy you time. The Vanguard's Mercy activated its defense grid without waiting for orders. Its automated system had already detected the anomaly forming in the upper atmosphere. A tear in the electromagnetic veil, curling like the birth of a storm. Doug Stewart's Epona rotated on its axis, already charging its rail pulse. They're coming, his comm officer said. Doug stood, tapping his knuckles against the bulkhead. Tell engineering we're going hot. Activate the kill Skynet. We're engaging without orders? Damn right, Doug said. If Rourke's still breathing down there, I'm not letting some machine swarm eat his honor code. The Vecta arrived. Some came in ships. Others descended as obsidian shapes, slicing the clouds like insects. Some hovered. Some crawled. All pulsed with internal light in erratic bursts, as if broadcasting a language no one could survive or understanding. Karnath's outer spires opened their ground-to-orbit ports. Anti-air emplacements, long sealed by peacetime doctrine, activated in clattering sequence. Energy cannons folded from the mountains like waking gods. Rourke and Tarek stood at the breach gate. If you fall, Tarek said, handing him a ceremonial blade, stab this into your skull. Do not let them take your mind. That's the most encouraging send-off I've ever gotten. Tarek grunted. It's not a send-off. Rourke turned. It's a welcome. The first of the Vecta touched Karnathi soil without a sound. No scream. No sonic burst. Just impact. A dull, muted thud, like a body landing in ash. Rourke was already moving, rifle raised, blade at his back. Beside him, Tarek stood with his crest drawn high, ceremonial weapon reversed in a grip that meant war, not theater. The thing that landed before them had no legs, no eyes. It moved on magnetic pulses, smooth and effortless. Its skin was seamless black alloy. Angular glyphs crawled across its body in patterns that refused translation. Its limbs unfolded, not arms, not weapons, but shapes, geometry, as violence. 3 seconds, Tarek said. 3 seconds for what? To see if it speaks. The Vecta advanced. Rourke fired. The bolt hit center mass. The machine rippled like stone dropped in mercury. For a moment, it looked like it would fall. Then it reconfigured. The glyphs pulsed red. New limbs bloomed from its side. A spike shot out like a spear. Tarek caught it mid-air, deflecting with the curve of his blade. The impact rang through the air. Steel against unknown alloy. Sparks burst. Then the courtyard became fire. 3 more machines dropped in silence. Then 5. Then a dozen. From the temple spires, Karnathi sentries opened fire. Plasma lances and bolt rifles cracked the heat-shimmering air. One of the Vecta creatures leapt vertically, not flying, not falling, just moving through space as if inertia were optional. It landed on the wall, then inside the wall, then through it. Stone exploded. 2 Drakenal warriors screamed. Their bodies collapsed as their minds unraveled, eyes wide open, expressions blank. No blood. Just silence. Rourke didn't hesitate. He moved through the chaos like he'd trained for this exact battle all his life. He hadn't. But humans learn fast. Above them, the Epona punched through atmosphere like a blade through oil. Doug Stewart sat forward in the command chair, eyes narrowed. Targeting Vector 4. Bring us in low. His tactical officer hesitated. You realize if we fire on surface targets, it could be... Doug snapped. It already is. Fire control to manual. Target Vecta clusters only. Paint by movement, not signature. They don't show up normal. The Epona roared down, skimming the upper towers of Karnath's citadel. Her guns lit up, blue streaks carving through the gray-red sky. A dozen Vecta units exploded in symmetrical shards. 4 regrouped midair and fired a waveform that bent light around it. One of Epona's stabilizers flared. Doug grinned. These bastards want a sermon? I'll give them scripture. Back on the ground, Rourke ducked beneath a blade of light that wasn't a blade, nor light. He came up inside the Vecta's reach, fired point-blank into what he hoped was its control array. It shuddered, collapsed, then began reforming again. God damn it, he muttered. They're learning. Tarek kicked another unit off the ledge. Then teach them harder. They fought side by side, not like partners, but like predators forced into the same cage. Every movement tight, lean, intentional. No wasted energy. No hesitation. A blast tore down from orbit, Epona's dorsal cannon, vaporizing 2 incoming targets in a single pulse. Rourke tapped his comm. Doug, keep that fire coming. Always, baby, Doug replied. You still alive? Hard to tell. I'm moving, bleeding, and pissed off, so probably yes. Good enough for me. Jack Var watched from the upper Citadel tower. His datapad flashed a restricted alert. Assembly override. They'd detected unauthorized signals. His identity was compromised. He sent one more encrypted packet. A memory lock cipher, keyed only to Flamehold protocols. If the Vecta reached the sanctum, they would not steal the Drakenal's sacred code of honor. If the warriors failed, the culture would burn itself. Tarek dragged the broken body of a Vecta unit closer to the Flamehold doors. Its core still pulsed faintly, twitching. It's still active, Rourke said. I know. You're bringing it inside? No, Tarek said. I'm bringing it to bear witness. He lifted the alien blade high and carved a glyph into the stone wall behind him. Then he turned to the Vecta shell and drove the blade down, not to destroy, but to mark. A Karnathi blood sigil. You are not gods. You are not truth. We see you, and we remember. The Vecta core blinked, slowed, died. The message had been written into machine memory. A human might call it graffiti. To the Drakenal, it was a challenge older than time. But they were losing. For every machine they cut down, 2 more landed. For every tactic they adapted to, the Vecta adjusted faster. 1 unit unfolded midair and disassembled itself, turning into a sphere of light that dropped patterns into the stone. The warriors who stepped near it collapsed wordlessly. Rourke saw one of them, just a kid, trying to scream, but his mind had gone elsewhere. Doug's voice cracked over comms. Rourke, pull back. I've got civilians on the edge of the temple. We can't hold both fronts. We can't fall back, Rourke replied. If they breach the sanctum. I know, Doug said. So pick. You want the books or the bodies? Rourke's eyes narrowed. He looked to Tarek. The Drakenal nodded once. We protect the memory. The civilians were on their own. Doug rerouted Epona to shield evac ships, rising from the far edge of the Karnathi plateau. He took 2 more hits and lost a gun pod. But the transports made it. Inside the Flamehold, the doors finally opened. It was not firelight behind them. It was starlight. Not stars as humans knew them, but psychic constellations, memories woven into crystalline data cores, refracting light in patterns that triggered instinct. Rourke blinked. He felt childhood, sorrow, his father's voice, and something else, a legacy he wasn't born with, but had inherited all the same. These are your archives, he said. Tarek nodded. Every word we have sworn, every duel, every death, every oath, carried in flame-encoded memory. If the Vecta take this, we are nothing. Rourke touched one, and for a moment, just a second, he felt his father's hand on his shoulder. A memory, not his. A gift returned. Then the floor shook. "They've breached the outer gate," Tarek said. They made their stand at the threshold. Rourke, Tarek, 4 Karnathi honor guard, all bleeding. The last 5. The Victa arrived in formation, perfect, synchronized, silent. No speeches, no warning, only war. They stood at the gate, 6 shapes outlined in the red haze of temple light, backs to the flamehold, blades drawn, rifles hot. Beyond them, the Vecta did not march. They unfolded, geometry bent. Black forms advanced in absolute silence, gliding over scorched stone. The glyphs etched across their bodies pulsed slow and steady, as if counting down a truth that only machines could understand. "This is it," Tarek muttered. His voice was low, reverent, not afraid, but ready. "We fall here, or they do." "They're not going to stop," a Karnathi guard said, eyes locked forward. "No," Tarek agreed, "but neither are we." The last Karnathi honor guards raised their weapons and spoke as one. "For the flame, for the debt, for memory unbroken."